So this is part 2 of our introduction to the geometry features on our TI Nspire calculator. We are again using our geometry features worksheet here that was found on our Haiku page for our geometry CP class. And we're going to look at, for this video, is going to be numbers 17, 18, 19, and 20. If you haven't done the first 16, I would go ahead and look at part 1 of this video, of these videos, to kind of get the basic ideas of these. So now let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do here is we need to add a new page. So this is where we ended the last video. We had made all this. Yours might have a extra array in here where you were finding each part of those angles. But to add a new page, so again, all the blue little symbols above our calculator, or above the buttons on our calculator, show us what that button will do if we press Control first. So if we press Control and then we hit the document button, that's going to add a new page. So it's adding a new page. Again, we want to add geometry pages for this. And we can see now we have a new page in this tab. So here's our new tab. So now we want to create a linear pair. So how would I do that? Well, I'm going to do that by first, I'm going to create a line. I'm going to go here, I'm going to create a line from this point to this point. So here's a straight line, and we don't have, I want to make another point on, so now we have, let me delete that. So now what I can do is I'm going to escape to get out of making a line, and now I want to add a point on, so I'm going to go point on my line, on this line. I'm actually going to add 2 points on this line. So there we go. So now I have 3 points on this line. I'm going to name these. So menu actions, text. I'm going to name this point. It's going to be point A. This one's going to be point B. And this one here will be point C. So there's points A, B, and C on this line. So now I want to create a linear pair. Well, a linear pair is two adjacent angles that are also supplementary. So supplementary angles add up to 180. Adjacent means they're right next to each other. They share a vertex and a ray, or a side. So here what I need to do is add a ray. So I'm going to go Menu, Points, Ray. I want to start this ray at point B, and I'm just going to go out in a certain direction. For me, I want to start right there. That's what I like. So now, escape, I got out of making rays. I'm going to add another point to that ray so we can name it. So point on this ray right there. And then I'll go name that point. So this point will now be point D. So there's ray ABC, or ray AB. We have a line AB that contains point C, and we have some angles. So how do we know we could measure these angles, right? If we did the measure feature, we would be able to measure these features and see that this angle ABD plus angle DBC equals 180 degrees. So there you've now created your linear pair. So now it's asking me to create two angles that are supplementary but not adjacent. So supplementary, again, 180 degrees, add up to 180, but not adjacent means they shouldn't be touching each other. So they can't share a vertex and a side. So what I might do is, from this one, let's first just measure these angles to make sure I know what they are. So A, B, D, the measurement of that is 55 degrees. And B, or DBC, that one is 124 degrees. So since I've measured those and moved their angles, I can move them by Control, hover over it, and then Control and click, and that lets my hand grab them, and I can move them into the ones that we had. So to make this, so we need an angle to be supplementary. So let's look with our smaller angle. I want to make a Here it's not perfect. This has a decimal place and this doesn't. But we know since we drew that line, these should be 180 degrees. If I were to move ray C around, there we go. Now it's 180 degrees just because it's no longer having that rounding issue. So let's try to make a line that will, or an angle that will be supplementary with A, B, D. So we need a 103 degree angle. Well, here's a 103 degree angle. So, but those two are adjacent, so that won't work. So we probably need to create a new ray. So let's make a ray. I'm going to make it leaving from point B again, but this time we're going to come down. So there we go. I'm going to add a point on that. We'll call that point F, or point E. We'll call it point E. Why not? A point on this line, point which I did not get. So to go back or to get rid of something, I'll Control Escape. It gets rid of what I just did. Point on this ray. And there we go. When I go to name it, I'm going to call it point E. So now I have ray BE as well. I'll move this one out to the side. And here we go. Now I would like to measure this to see how we can do it. So, which angle am I going to use? Well, this one's adjacent to our 77, so we can't use ABE. So we need to use EBC. So to measure EBC, I click on one of the sides first, then the vertex on the other side. Let me escape. And now we need to move this vertex until, or this ray, until I get my 103 degrees. So there's too much. There we go. So now, angle EBC and angle ABD are supplementary but not adjacent. They do not share a vertex and a side. They share a vertex but not a vertex and a side. So there we go. Those two are supplementary but not adjacent. So now that we've done that, I'm going to add a new page to create our last one, which is vertical angles. So a new page again is Control Doc to add that new page. Geometry. Vertical angles are angles that are opposite when two lines intersect. So I'm going to add two lines because we need them to intersect. So there's a line. Let me add another line. So there are my two lines. Let me add some points on these lines. So point on this line here, point on that line over there, and I'm going to do also a point where an intersection point there. So if I hit Tab, I believe I got my intersection point. I'm going to control back and let's look at some different features here. So if I have points and lines, I can click on intersection points. So that's the better way to do this. So here, okay, I have now my two lines with points on them. I want to add a line where they intersect, or a point where they intersect. I go to Menu, Points, Intersection Points, click on that, click on the line, and the other line, I click on the two lines where they intersect and it adds that point for me. Now let me label these really quick, and you'll rejoin me once I've labeled them. So here I've now named my two intersecting lines. I have line FI and line JH. Those two lines intersect at point K. So we now have vertical angles opposite each other and sharing the same vertex of two intersecting lines. So let's look at the measurement of these. So if we measure these angles, angle F, K, J has a measurement of 57.9 degrees. So let's move that angle right there. Now let me get my measurement tool back, and now let's measure H, K, I. We know that that is a vertical angle because they are across. We can see that those two are also congruent. They have the same angle measurement. So vertical angles are always congruent. Let me just show you the other one. So F, K, H is 122, while J, K, I is also 122. And when I move these, I can see that. So 122, 122, and there we go. We have two sets of vertical angles that are across from each other, opposite each other, of two intersecting lines. So that ends this part of the video of introduction to geometry features on our TI Nspire calculator. If you would like to continue, check out part 3. If not, good luck working on part 3 by yourself. So here, before we leave, let's save, file, and save our work. That way it is saved for us so we can always come back to it later.